Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. Hi guys, we are on the final season, which is the winter season, in different seasons. This is A Winter's Tale, The Breathing Method. Now this takes place in 1970 something. It's very weird. Stephen King has done this before where he just writes out the date but doesn't fill in the last digit. So it's 1970 something. And an old man, is walking toward a club. Even though it's not technically a club, they don't refer to it as a club. There are no members, there aren't any dues. It's like an old gentleman's hangout, and they tell stories, they have drinks, they just kind of chill, they play pool or billiards, whatever it is. Every Christmas Eve, the featured tale is a spooky tale. So that is the gist of the story here, and it shows up in other Stephen King works. This is the first one. We haven't gotten to any of the other club stories yet. There is a man there who is kind of like the butler, and he is named Stevens. He's very reminiscent of Grady from The Shining in the movie version, and it is implied several times that he is older than he appears. He's been around. He is kind of attached to this clubhouse, this brownstone. He is mysterious and just not necessarily of this world and of this realm. I'm actually kind of wondering if he is some sort of a vampire, but it is not explained any further. So apparently the club is open every night, and Thursdays are the kind of designated story nights. So those are the nights where you will hear a good tale. Our narrator, David Adley, he tells about some previous stories that he has heard over the years, because he's been going now for about 10 years. And the one story that he hints at and doesn't really expound upon, to me, is a more fascinating story than the one that we are told. Quote, "There's something in the trunk of my car. Something I found out at the Virginia place. I've shot it and stabbed it and I can't kill it. It's not human and I can't kill it." Page 475. So I want to hear more about that story, personally. So the story that we actually hear is from Emlyn McCarran, who was a doctor, and he tells about a patient who came in 1935, and she was unwed. She was about 2 months pregnant at the time. She didn't care that she wasn't married, and she decided to have the baby. It became a problem when she started showing. Her employer dropped her. The woman thought it was unseemly for a woman to be having a bastard. And so she got fired from her job. She was asked to leave her apartment, so she bought a wedding ring to pretend that she was married, just so she could kind of get along in society and keep working so that she could afford having this baby. And she ended up getting a new apartment and pretending to be a widow, and she got a new job cleaning. And she tells the doctor, quote, "I have a feeling, Dr. McCarran, sometimes quite a strong feeling, that I am doomed." Page 504. And she is definitely doomed. It's a very brief tale, and actually half of this novella is about the club and the mysteriousness of it and the nuances of the club as opposed to the actual spooky tale. What happens is the woman goes into labor on Christmas Eve. She has to call a cab, and the streets are just pure ice. So she has been learning the breathing method, which is now known as the Lamaze method, and this doctor was an early proponent of using it, and he taught her how to do it, and she was using those techniques in the back seat, kind of freaking the cab driver out. He didn't know what was happening. He was uncomfortable with the fact that, this woman's about to give birth in his car. So he speeds when he gets to the hospital, and an ambulance is edging out at the very same moment, and they collide. There's a big accident. The cab is actually shorn in two by a statue, and the woman is ejected from the back seat. And the doctor, the guy who's telling the story, he is arriving just as all this is happening. He was about to enter the building, and he runs over, and as he's running, he hits something with his foot, and it it kind of throws him. It's something really heavy, and he looks down, and it is the patient's head. So she has been decapitated, and he gets over to her body, and she is in labor still. She is breathing using the method that he taught her, and he helps deliver the baby. So she is still managing to give birth despite having no head, and the people who are kind of gawking, he says, "Get me a blanket." Everyone's kind of freaked out, thinks it could be a monster baby, and they aren't really wanting to have anything to do with it, but they still want to look, kind of thing. She has the baby. The doctor looks at her head, turns around, she's looking at him, and she is registering that she is looking at him, and she mouths the words, "Thank you, Dr. McCarran," and he tells her it's a boy, and then she dies. I like the creepy aspect of it, but it's not my favorite short story, and I actually probably enjoy the preamble to this more than the actual tale. And then it wraps up with our narrator. He is leaving the club, and he wants to ask Stevens more about the club, more about the weird things inside the club, and Stevens kind of cautions him, and he's like, people who learn too much don't want to come back. And so our David Adley kind of chickens out a little bit, and he doesn't ask all the questions he wants to, and he actually doesn't think he wants to know the answers anymore. So it is a good little novella to wrap up the book. It's a spooky little tale we hear around a campfire, and I appreciate that aspect of it. There's another one, The Man Who Wouldn't Shake Hands. I don't remember the name. I think that's the title, The Man Who Wouldn't Shake Hands. I like that one quite a bit. And that one also features this mysterious gentleman's club. And really, when I think about it, this gentleman's club is kind of an upgrade from the typical Stephen King old men sitting around a store, or sitting around a bar, or sitting around the gas station, which we've seen in, at least 3 of his other works, maybe more, where he's got that group of men who just sit around and tell stories and talk about how things are. And I really like that dynamic. I really like the old men swapping tales and just chilling. Have a spooky day.